You don't have to deal with whatever it is that you have to deal with, right? Something that actually really needs your attention. Anytime a feeling comes up, it's kind of knocking at you and saying, please give me some attention and please process me in a healthy way. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming up. I want to welcome you to Raw Honey. I want to ask you, is life working out for you the way that you want it to? Are you claiming your birthright by living a life that's fulfilling, happy, and peaceful? Because let me remind you, that is exactly what you deserve. You get to choose the perspectives that will work for you, that will help you into creating the life of your dreams. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts, to be real, raw, and vulnerable with you. I really cannot wait to dive into this week's topic. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Yo guys, what's up? What's going on? Thank you for joining me for episode 7, where we get to talk about the dangers of numbing things out. I'm especially intrigued by this topic. I catch myself talking about this with almost everybody that I meet. Anyone who is down to talk about deep stuff, the things that really matter about life, psychology, just how the mind works. I love talking about this because it's something that we all do. If only we paid a little bit more attention and become a little bit more aware, we'll find that we all do it. I know I'm a master at it. I used to do it so much all the time. I still do it here and there. I'm not off the hook, but at least I try to be aware whenever I do it, because there is something that you can do instead of numbing out negative feelings, bad emotions, or having like these uncomfortable thoughts, right, that bring up these feelings. So why do we numb out? Because whatever it is that is coming up is feeling uncomfortable. And that is so understandable. Nobody wants to feel uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable thoughts, because it's so easy to just kind of swat them away, right? Avoid them, push them down, right? So how do we numb things out? We numb things out by running away from them, by suppressing them, by avoiding them at all costs. It feels so bad. It's just like this tugging, nagging feeling that no one wants to deal with, right? So we run away, we avoid it, we suppress it, we do everything but to feel these feelings because they're negative. So what do we tend to numb out? What are some things that we usually, at the first sight of it, at the first feeling of it, at the first budding and sprouting of it, we're like, no, not now, not here, not ever. Examples include depression, that feeling that you just cannot get out of bed, you can't get off the couch, you would rather watch TV on the couch all day, TV in bed all day, you have zero energy, you just don't feel like doing anything, right? These thoughts come up and they haunt you. Let me tell you something. Our mind is unfortunately programmed to be more negative than positive. But the good news is we can do something about it. We can really train our mind so well to the point where it'll think more positively than negatively. But unfortunately for the most of us, it does tend to bring up things that bother us more than excite us. So we'll be thinking thoughts that will put us into depression, all right? All these thoughts of I'm not enough. It'll have us thinking about the future a little bit too much, worried about the future, what's going to happen, worst case scenarios, something's coming up tomorrow, something's coming up tonight, something's coming up next month, next year, in 5 years. Why are we thinking about something that is not quite here yet? Right? And why are we thinking of the worst case scenarios? I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with others. But we get so flustered and so scared that it's so hard to console ourselves. It's hard to calm ourselves down. It's hard to calm the next person down because all they can think about is the fact that it might go wrong. It might go wrong. And they're already thinking about how they cannot handle it. Right? So why do we numb out these uncomfortable feelings? It's because we believe that we cannot handle it. We literally believe, I don't know what it is, that we think is going to happen, but we feel like we can't possibly process these feelings the right way. So we would rather just push them away. What else do we tend to numb out? We tend to numb out sadness, right? Anything that is negative that you can think of are usually what we want to swipe away, right? As soon as it comes up, it boils up or whatever, we do whatever we can to just water it off. Disappointment. No one wants to be disappointed. No one wants to feel jealous, right? Don't stop spending so much time on social media, right? Especially if you grew up and it was normal for you to learn to compare yourself against others, to kind of see where you're at, how well you're doing by comparing yourself. Dude, chances are you're still comparing yourself because it's just something that you learned since childhood and you're still doing it to this day. I know a lot of Asian American people do it. I still do it. I used to do it a lot, but I'm trying to cut back on that because it just does nobody any good. Okay, you are you and that person is that person. It's got nothing to do with you. Just because that person is winning, it has nothing to do with you. I learned this from my coach, one of my coaches. But just because that person is winning, it does not mean you're losing. It doesn't have to be 100 or 0. Sometimes there's 50. That person is winning, so are you, right? But that person is just got this fat ass achievement right now. Hooray, congratulations. That doesn't make you any less. There's no need for you to feel bad. Jealousy. Yeah, so jealousy, envy, wanting what the other person has, feeling like you're less than that person. So then you start beating yourself up and then you start like wanting to numb out that pain of feeling like, oh, see, yeah, I'm not enough because compared to her, compared to him, I just don't have that much. Anger is something that is so easy to react on. Shame and guilt are the two lowest frequency that you can live in. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful that you are not living in shame or guilt. Okay, you made a mistake in the past. Who hasn't? You are not the only one. We've all made mistakes. I have made a whole bunch of mistakes. And I found out that I was living in predominantly guilt and shame feelings for most of my life until I learned to write a forgiveness letter to myself, which, by the way, is very, very helpful because I wasn't aware that I was blaming myself for being so bad, right, for so long. But until I wrote that forgiveness letter, I realized how bad I was bashing myself. So I was living in shame and guilt. And whenever that feeling of shame and guilt pops up, it's very easy for us to be like, no. Like, damn, I feel so bad. Like, let me do something else instead, right? Fear and worry. These are all really, really great examples of negative feelings that we don't necessarily want to give any time to be able to process in a healthy manner, in a healthy way through our body. So what we do instead is we numb it out. How do we numb out, you ask? Well, look at what you're looking at right now. Is it a phone? Is it a computer? Well, the phone is the easiest thing to pick up, honestly. It's highly accessible. It's the first thing you probably reach for when you wake up. It's the first thing you do. You scroll through and you look at before you start your day. It's probably the last thing that you look at and scroll through, right? Before you go to sleep, your screen time is probably through the roof. I don't know if you know your screen time, but I'm not really proud of my screen time, and it's something that I'm desperately trying to cut back on. But that's definitely one thing that we can use that is so easy. Whenever you feel anxious, whenever you feel depressed, whenever you feel jealous, whenever you feel uncomfortable, whenever you feel like a feeling is coming, you just don't want to deal with it, boom, it's so easy to reach for that phone, right? It's so easy to flip on the TV and start watching Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever your vice is. It's so easy to turn on your game console, that Xbox, that PS4, that PC, start going into the world of gaming so that you don't have to deal with whatever it is that you have to deal with, right? Something that actually really needs your attention. Anytime a feeling comes up, it's kind of knocking at you and saying, please give me some attention and please process me in a healthy way. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming up. We also numb things out by going shopping, gambling, we go have sex, we get into relationships we know we shouldn't get into, we eat food. My goodness, food is like probably actually the number one addiction right next to the phone, right? These are things that are so easy to reach for. They make you feel good. They have the ability to truly, really pacify a lot of pain. Let's talk about alcohol. Let's talk about cigarettes. Cigarettes is so easy. You're over here thinking like, oh, so nasty. Why would anyone reach for a cigarette? But it's actually one of the easiest things to reach for when you're feeling uncomfortable. When a thought pops up and you don't like it, when you're in a social setting and you don't like it, it's easy for you to reach for your phone and to reach for that cigarette. It's just like a 5-minute thing. But then you start chain smoking, You start chain smoking because you realize that these thoughts are never going to go away. These uncomfortable thoughts are always going to keep coming up, okay? There could also be like good ways to numb out pains, right? And you can so mask it so well to where people are like, nah, that's nothing. She's just a workaholic. She just likes to work. That's, if anything, she's productive. Oh yeah, that person likes to work out. They work out all the time. They work out like two times a day, like 3 hours a day. I dare you to ask yourself, what in the heck are you running away from? Why are you overworking yourself to the point where you have no room for yourself, no time for yourself? What are you running away from? Is your worth tied to how much you work? Is your worth tied to how you look? Is that why you are a gym rat? Is that why you're always constantly in the gym? All of this numbing out of your feelings, we're all guilty of, okay? Again, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I am a master at running away from my emotions and my feelings until I learn if I don't want to continuously be triggered by the same damn thing, I best process my emotions instead of numbing them out. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful, because once you get used to numbing out, which I'm sure a lot of us are used to numbing things out with alcohol, drugs, weed, whatever, food, whatever, everything that I've mentioned before, it can lead to addiction. Right? So for me personally, when I see someone who has a really, really bad addiction, whether it's to alcohol or drugs, I'm a nurse. So I see a lot of cases where people have taken drinking way too far or taking drugs way too far to where they end up in the hospital. They've had like a near-death experience and they really need emergent help in order for them to be okay. So I see a lot of that happen, and all I can see is honestly just a person, and they may not even know this for themselves, right? But I might have a person in front of me who drinks a freaking liter of alcohol every single day. It's gotten bad to that point, and they want to quit so bad. They've probably been through rehab multiple times. It's just not working. Well, the problem that I see is that they are running away from a part of themselves that they just cannot seem to confront, that they can't seem to process. So they would rather numb out their pain instead, right? And it gets so bad to the point where they become so addicted that they ruin their bodies, right? They ruin this temple of a body that they have, all because they could not sit down and they could not be alone with their thoughts. They're not the only ones. We do it too. We may do it to a lesser degree, but we still do it. We're using something outside of us so that we can run away from our own feelings, ourselves, right? Because it's so painful. But what if I tell you that you have everything within you to process through these emotions? They're just feelings and they're just thoughts. Okay, and you're strong enough to allow them to come up, to do their thing. You're strong enough to process through them without believing in their bullshit. Our minds, like I said, is programmed to think negatively. So it's our job to retrain our minds so that it'll start thinking more positively. The purpose of this podcast is for you to become more aware of what you're numbing out, of the fact that you're numbing out, of what you're numbing things out with, why you're numbing out, right? What feelings are you numbing out? And just realize that it's not healthy. It's not healthy because it can lead to addiction. It leads to bad decision making. Okay, sometimes like we have friends, and I'm one of those friends who makes bad decisions for their lives, right? And they can easily mask and just say, oh, that's just what I want to do, free will. But at the end of the day, it's because I'm running away from something that hurts me so bad, right? And it's something that if I don't want other people to know about, they will never know about. But those who really understand how the human mind works will see it for exactly what it is. Because I'm numbing something out. I'm going through something and I'm hurt, right? But we all go through it. We should all be compassionate towards ourselves and understand that we have the ability to work through it. Okay? Because otherwise, if you continue with the bad decision making, if you start developing an addiction, if you keep suppressing and pushing down and avoiding, one of these days you're going to explode, man. You're going to make like one stupid, fat decision that's going to suck so bad that your whole family suffers, okay? I personally know a lot of situations like that, all right? And I've been in situations like that myself. So one last note, it's okay to feel these emotions, all right? Emotions are natural. Even though your mind tries to convince you that you're too weak, you're not strong enough to face these emotions, I guarantee you can. You deserve to be the highest version of yourself, and you deserve to start thinking more positive thoughts naturally, right? You deserve to build these new neural pathways as opposed to believing in the old programmings that you've repeated for however old you are. Okay, 25 for 25 years. You're 30 years old, 30 years, right? 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. But still at that point, you can change if you truly believe that it's possible for you. And I guarantee you that it's possible. Okay, so what are you numbing out, friend? What are you numbing out? And is it worth it? Talk to someone. Talk to someone if you have to. If you know me personally and you want to talk about some feelings that you've been hiding, some feelings that you've been pushing away, I'm here, okay? Because to end, I love you. I love all of you, all right? I want nothing but for all of us to be healthy, right? Mentally. There's no point in suffering, guys. There's really no point in suffering. And we all deserve love, and we all deserve to live an amazing, happy, peaceful life. We all do. Thank you so much for joining. I really hope that you found value in this podcast. I hope to see you for episode 8. See ya.